are beyond thrilled and honored to welcome Grammy Award-winning rapper, songwriter, and producer Missy Elliott to the Kelly Alexander Show, talking about her good friend Janet Jackson's induction into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Missy and Janet have been friends for many years, have collaborated on several tracks together, and have nothing but love for one another. And we are so grateful to have Missy celebrate Janet's induction with us here on the show. Missy, thank you so much for hanging out on the Kelly Alexander Show.
Thank you for having me. I'm humbly grateful, and most definitely I had to be here for this one.
Awesome. So I got to start off by asking you, how did Janet and her music come into your life? When did you actually become a fan?
Oh, man. She had a song called Young Love, actually. A lot of fans probably don't even remember that song. And then I was a fan then because, just being a Jackson, period. It's just being a Jackson, you're just like a fan of the Jacksons. But when she did Control, I was like, I remember putting the video to Control on my VCR tape, which people probably don't even remember that. VCR tape over and over. I taped the video and I would just watch it over and over and try to learn the dance stuff. So that's when I became a true Janet Jackson fan.
What do you think it is about Janet that resonates not only with you as an artist, but also as a performer?
Oh, man, there's so many things about it. One thing that I saw with Janet is what she put into her shows. That's the major thing. Like, when Janet performs, she always has given 110%. She gets up there and her production was always on 100. And then the dancing, she never missed a beat. And just her with classic records. I mean, Janet has been the whole package. A lot of times you may say, hey, this person, they sing very well, but they stage presence, not so much, or the whole package the whole time.
That's fantastic. Now, I know the fans are going to freak out when I ask you this question. When was it that you and Janet actually first met in person, and what was that experience like?
Me and Janet and I, we met in L.A., and it's so funny because I started to hit Janet last night, like, do you remember exactly where it was that we met? I can't even remember exactly the place, but it was in L.A., and I remember it being funny because Gil was there, who has done a lot of her choreography, and Shawnette, who was another person that used to be with Janet a lot. So both of them were there, and I just remember Janet, she would ask a question, but she would ask them the question, and then they would ask me. And I was like, hey, like, can she talk? And they would just laugh at me, like, just, because I was always clowning. I'm like, why everybody whispering? But I realized that, like, Janet really talks with this light voice. It's not even for play, because I thought maybe she just does that. But no, she really talks like that. But it's funny because when she wanted to ask something at first, she would say it to them, and then they would say, Janet said, and I was like, well, this is different, but it's Janet Jackson, so what? And from there, she just would laugh, and she always thought I had like a country accent. And I believe we exchanged numbers, and we've been friends ever since.
Oh, that's awesome. Joining us on the Kelly Alexander Show, legendary rapper and entertainer Missy Elliott. Make sure you follow her on her social media at Missy Elliott. Missy, Janet has often said how much she loves you as an artist and as a friend. What did it feel like when you realized that Janet is actually one of your biggest fans? And how did it feel also for her to present you with that wonderful speech at Essence's Black Women in Music event last year?
Oh, I mean, to hear that Janet is a fan of mine, that still sounds weird. And because that's Janet Jackson. And Janet is someone, her and Michael both, I used to write them when I was little, and I would ask my mother to bring home 25-cent stamps every day to write them both to their fan club. So to even think that, Janet have ever listened to my records, even to this day, I've done a lot of things in my career, but I still can go out with Janet, and sometimes I'll be saying in my mind, like, that's Janet Jackson. And, she's still the Janet Jackson to me, the legendary Janet Jackson. So I am humbly grateful to know that Janet is a fan of anything that I have done. And when, she honored me at the, it was a tribute for me. I don't want to say the wrong name, but to see her there, it was, wow. I just remember crying, like really breaking down crying, because I believe it was Essence.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And to see Janet there, I did not expect Janet to be there. I actually thought Janet was over. And when she walked out, how many people, first of all, can say, Janet is just at your tribute? Janet Jackson. And no matter how, close of friends we are, like I said, she's still Janet Jackson to me. I have for so many years and just have admired her. And aside from her just being talented, because I know this is not in the questions, but besides her being talented, her heart is humongous. Her heart is just as big as any of the things that I could tell you great about her musically. So for her to be there, I most definitely was humbled. It took me back to the childhood of me writing and, saying, please come pick me up from school. And it's like all of those things ran through my mind, and I will never, ever, ever forget it. I cherish our friendship, everything about her.
Now, you've got to collaborate with Janet on several tracks, which is amazing because not a lot of people get to collaborate with her even once, but you've done it several times. And I want to take you back to that first collab, Son of a Gun. How did that opportunity come about? And were you able to have fun with it, or did you sort of have pressure on yourself because this was your first joint with Janet?
The way that Son of a Gun came about was through Jimmy Jam. Jimmy Jam reached out to me and said, hey, Janet, and actually I did a record with Janet, did a record with her before, but we were in the same room before, we had met face to face. We talked on the phone. But when he called me and said, hey, Janet got this amazing record, and she wants you to be on it, and she wants you to just go for it. And I'm just like, it was most definitely pressure because no matter what, I don't care how many records I do with Janet, it's going to always be that pressure. And when I say this, I truly mean it. It's Janet Jackson to me. And so this is somebody that I most definitely have been inspired by. And I remember me being like, geez, like, just go for it. Do I curse? Can I curse? I don't know if I really want to curse on a Janet Jackson joint. I don't want to get too raw because they might send it back and be like, it's too much. But he reassured me, like, it's cool, like, just do you. And so I think the most funniest thing about this record is after I'd done it, I sent it, and he was like, yo, we love it. And, Janet, she loves it. And then he said, look, I need you to do one more thing. I want you to do some ad-libs. And we did the ad-libs over the phone.
Wow.
It wasn't even like a studio session. It was just over the phone. So that's always been amazing to me.
That's awesome. That's so cool. Now, we got the news, just a couple months ago that Janet is being inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Do you remember where you were when you got the news, and what was your initial reaction and feelings that, she's finally getting in there?
I actually saw it on Twitter, and my immediate thing was pick up the phone, and I hit Jay with Janet and told her congratulations. My reaction, the first reaction is, wait, Janet has never been in the Hall of Fame. That was the first reaction. And then, instead of harping on that she most definitely should have been in there a long time ago, I said, it don't matter what time it is as long as it happens. And she's so deserving of it. She has worked hard for like 3 decades and given us timeless classic records that will continue to transcend through many generations. So most definitely deserving. I don't think anybody could say she's not deserving of it.
When it comes to the African-American music community, can you give us your thoughts on what Janet and her accomplishments mean to the community at large?
Janet's accomplishment to the African-American community is that, we can succeed past one dimension because Janet is global. And I know for me, as a little girl, I didn't think that, you could be that big, you could touch that many people. I most definitely was just like thinking, get in a couple of states, but she has became a global superstar. And to be able to have that leverage and then use it to good, she has most definitely helped so many people. I think it shows us that for the African American community, and most definitely for Black people, it shows us that we most definitely can, succeed and go through any obstacles, because Janet has been through many trials and tribulations and have not given up. And that's amazing in itself, because, a lot of times you go through stuff and you may feel like quitting. And Janet never quit, and she is stronger than before. So she's most definitely inspiration to us in the Black community.
And I wanted to ask you this, Missy. Over the years, you've made no secret, how much of a fan you are of Janet. So I have to ask you, do you actually have a favorite all-time favorite Janet song? And if you could have your pick of one of her classic songs to feature on, what would it have been?
Well, both answers would be Control.
Okay.
Both would be Control. No, I would say, it's really hard to say when it comes to Janet records, because you're talking about, like I said, almost 3 decades of music. The reason why I say Control, because that's just like, I, had that on my tape forever, like my PR tape from the front to back. But then I always think about, and all of Janet's records have always moved me. But I always look at the beginning stages of an artist, because it's always the more vulnerable, and I think about Pleasure Principle, because honestly, that's another one of the ones that you could play that right now behind anything that's on fire on the charts right now, and I'm like jamming to that joint like it just came out. And I think because that was the first time that I realized that Janet is a force to be reckoned with, because she basically did that whole video by herself, and she didn't have, no dancers or anything, and she had the world captivated, like, wow. She didn't have no bells and whistles going on. She just had one chair, and that chair, everybody went in some part of their house trying to find a chair like that to do that same move. And that record, I always felt like, and that is, if I could ever redo a record, it probably would be Pleasure Principle.
That would be sick. That's awesome. And before I let you go, I just wanted to ask you this, Missy, as you know, because this is one of the reasons why I love you so much, because you're such an amazing entertainer in your own right, but you're also like, we know you love Janet, which is just great. And I just want you to tell Janet's fans, what do you want them to know the most about Janet, the person?
Is first of all, she loved laughing. Like, she loved just, she just loved to laugh. That's one thing I do want them to know. But I also want them to know that, you know, her, like I said earlier, her heart is humongous. And she's so humble. Somebody that would have the resume, as she would say, as Janet Jackson. You know, everybody can have that, and she never makes you feel less than like.
Before I let you go, Missy, I just want to say on behalf of your fans and Janet fans, you know, thank you so much for doing this interview. It really means, you know, the world to us to have heard from you. We truly appreciate, you know, your time and how much you love and support Janet. And also, on behalf of all of your fans around the world, congratulations on your own induction into the Songwriters Hall of Fame. I know that's coming up. We're so thankful for everything you've done. You've made so many of us laugh and dance and just have a great time for so many years. And we love you. Congratulations on all of that.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you. I'm humbly grateful. Thank you.
That is legendary rapper and entertainer Missy Elliott. Make sure you follow her on social media at Missy Elliott. Hey, it's Kelly. Thank you so much for hanging out and watching and listening to our interviews. We always appreciate your time. Please make sure to follow us on our YouTube channel and also hit up our website so that you can subscribe to our newsletter so you are always up to date with everything that we have got going on with the show. KellyAlexanderShow.com/subscribe.